नहीं, तुम्हारा नहीं छोड़ा था। कोई नहीं, ऑक्यूपेशनल हैजर्ड्स। So we were writing the economic history of India. क्या लिखा था लास्ट हमने? So we have understood that NDA, the 15-year vision, 7-year strategy, and the 3-year action plan, basically to promote withdrawal of the state. So it's a common sense. It's a clear common sense that now the withdrawal of the state is happening, whether we like it or not. So we have to adjust accordingly. And how we can adjust? As I told you, the biggest problem with this neoliberal phase is unemployment. सबसे बड़ी problem है. और भी problems है, but सबसे बड़ी problem है unemployment. Second biggest problem is inequalities. These are the two big problems that we are facing in neoliberal world. So inequalities पे ऐसा कोई खास concern सरकार का focus है नहीं फिलहाल. But unemployment is something that is to be concerned with. So उसके लिए suggestion I told you, promotion of so we have not written the analysis. लिखिए चलिए. New era of planning. उसके बाद क्या लिखा हमने? कुछ नहीं. New era of planning within side down. The union government has discontinued the 5-year plans. Has discontinued the 5-year plans and instead INSTEAD and instead has installed new development agendas. New development agendas in the form of NDA. The form of NDA within bracket National Development Agenda. In the form of NDA, National Development Agenda. Full stop. ठीक है, सब heading National Development Agenda. Subheading National Development Agenda. Within this, write down. It is consist of 15-year vision. Yes, 15-year vision, comma, 7 years strategy, and 3 years action plan. And 3 years action plan that may require constitutional changes, comma, legal changes, comma, and executive actions. And executive actions, respectively. Subheading Philosophy of NDA. Subheading Philosophy of NDA. Within philosophy of NDA, right? बैठो बैठो जल्दी बैठो. What is the philosophy of NDA? Neoliberal reforms. That is offloading the role of the state to private sector. That is right down. It is based on the philosophy. Is based on the philosophy of neoliberal reforms. Based on the philosophy of neoliberal reforms, aiming aiming aim aiming to restrain the government aiming to restrain the government to essential roles. Restrain the government to essential roles and offloading essential roles and offloading the remaining roles to private entrepreneurship. Offloading the remaining roles to private entrepreneurship, including private entrepreneurship, including uh, non-state actors, non-state actors like NGOs, comma, grassroots organizations, grassroots organizations, comma, private corporations, and so on. Private corporations and so on. Okay. Now write a main heading: analysis of Rao Manmohan Singh model. Analysis of Rao Manmohan Singh model. Because they started neoliberalization in India. So this model is known as Rao Manmohan Singh model. So what is the analysis? The analysis is very simple. There are some benefits. The biggest benefit of Rao Manmohan Singh model is high growth. Since neoliberal reforms in 1991, India is witnessing a very high level of growth, as well as India witnessed a high level of reduction in poverty. But up till largely 2010, after that, it started reversing for a brief period, but well, it was growing even then, but at a slow pace. Things have gone bad since demonetization. So 1991 tak, you were having moderate reduction in poverty, moderate growth, and moderate inequality. 1991 rapid growth. Since 1991, rapid double-digit growth India achieved before 2008. Then 2008 crisis came, if you remember. So double-digit growth was going on. So as growth, growth of course help people. If the corporation increase, a private corporation will increase, they will become super rich, but in the process they will make you rich as well. Remember Adam Smith's invisible hand. ऐसा नहीं है कि they will always become rich, you will always remain poor. ऐसा नहीं होता. they will become super rich, but they will make you sufficiently wealthy. Not wealthy, but sufficiently wealthy. It was going on up till largely 2010. From there, poverty reduced, but at a reduced pace. We are having a particular scenario since demonetization 2016 onward. Since then, poverty started increasing, not only from the international figures, but also from Government of India's own report, particularly National Family Health Survey. There's a National Family Health Survey conducted, NSSO data is collected there, government survey hota hai ye. The last survey we have is National Family Health Survey 5th, the last iteration. That survey highlighted that India mein for the first time nutrition has decreased. After demonetization का impact है इसमें. First time nutrition has decreased. Second thing, recent RBI report highlight that average savings in India have been reduced around 6%. और प्लस जॉबलेस ग्रोथ तो चल ही रहा है. जॉबलेस ग्रोथ हैज बीन कंटिन्यूइंग सिंस 1991. उसमें तो कोई इशू है ही नहीं. बट नाउ इट हैज बीन एग्रीवेटेड. एंड हाउ यू कैन नो? सिंपल पैरामीटर. Government of India is giving 80 crore people free ration. Free ration. Pradhan Mantri Garib Kalyan Yojana. So it is an acknowledgement of poverty. Again, I'm saying maybe 80 crore people are not poor. But the thing is that there is increase in poverty. You can dispute the quantum, maybe 10%, 20%. You can dispute that because various report take various surveys. They take various mathematical model. Because of this, there are various outcomes. But trends are never wrong. मैंने आपको हमेशा समझाया है, there is never, trends are never wrong. ऐसा कभी नहीं होगा that poverty is decreasing and survey shows it is increasing. It is increasing. By how much quantum we can dispute, वो एक अलग बात है. Different services, different things. So one thing is clear, in this Rao Manmohan Singh model, India has grown with unprecedented growth. India's private sector has boomed a lot, covering large areas. Development has happened, nobody can deny that. And it has happened before also, but now it has taken a pace. The difference is previously government was developing everything, now private based PPP model we call it, public private partnership. Now everything in India is made by public private partnership. Government does not directly make, government decides what to be made. For example, an expressway, for that government floats contracts known as tenders. Then private contractors, they apply, whosoever think they can build the expressway, and accordingly government selects whichever bid is the best one. Then they develop expressway. Then they recover the money. Government does not give the money, government gives a partial funding. The remaining funding that has to be contributed by the private party. That's why it is known as public private partnership. Of the money invested by a private party, they have to recover that also, and they recover from you by levying fees and charges, just a toll in highways, expressways, or by service provider fees. That's how they recover from you. Logic is they will recover the money, and after that it must become free forever. मान लेते you made an expressway, public private partnership, I will establish a toll, I will extract toll from you people, and then once my money is recovered plus profit, investment plus profit is recovered, that expressway must become free of toll. Sorry, hand it over to government basically. But recent में our new model came, जिसे हम करेंगे infrastructure में, known as TOT model. PPP के model करेंगे हम. We will do different models of PPP. This is a recent one. TOT, toll, operate, transfer. Toll, operate, transfer model. What is this proposal? Government thought that देखिए taxation की एक limit होता है. I cannot tax you beyond a point, particularly income tax. When you pay indirect tax, you don't feel the pain. Every single Indian, even you people, pays tax. जिनके पास कोई job नहीं है, you're studying, still you people pay tax. When you buy anything, आप कुछ भी खरीदते हैं, you go to a restaurant, you eat, you pay tax. You buy a commodity, you pay tax. Every single Indian pays taxes. That is what we call indirect taxes. That is inbuilt in the price of commodity. जैसे मान लेते you bought a pen 10 rupees. उस 10 रुपए में क्या है? The cost of production plus profit plus government taxes clubbed together becomes the selling price. बात समझ में? तो everyone pays taxes. अब प्रॉब्लम ये है, I cannot increase tax beyond a point. because people start to revolt. Let's take an example. You're having a job, I am imposing 10% of your income tax. You will be like, okay, fine. I increase it to 20%, you will be hurt, again fine. 30%, now you're like, ये ज्यादा हो रहा है. But still, because you have to survive somehow, आप किसी तरह मैनेज करोगे. But imagine if I take taxes to 60%, you will be like, रख लो जॉब, मुझे करना ही नहीं काम. ज्यादा बढ़िया है ना. I will not do the work, nobody will do the work, we will be unemployed, we will do protest. काहे जॉब करें. एक तो हम जॉब करें, वी विल वर्क द एंटायर ईयर, देन वी विल पे 60% ऑफ आवर इनकम टू यू. सवाल ही पैदा नहीं होता. रादर देन अनएम्प्लॉयड रहेंगे, तुम्हारे सरकारी हॉस्पिटल में जाएंगे, तुम्हें गालियां देंगे, फिर तुम्हारे ही स्कूल में जाएंगे, फिर तुम्हें गालियां देंगे और प्रोटेस्ट करेंगे अलग से. इट इज एडवांटेजियस. So that's the thing. You cannot increase tax beyond a point because people start leaving jobs, or those who cannot leave jobs, they start finding mechanism of not paying taxes. You will start not disclosing your income. You will be like, क्या होगा, पकड़ा जाएंगे तब की तब देखेंगे. Rather than giving 60% taxes, I will start hiding my incomes because I know if I 60% बहुत बड़ा amount होता है. So government knows beyond a point they cannot tax. But indirect tax is something that we can and you won't feel it. तो कैसे करेंगे? You have a expressway built that is transferred to the government. It must become free now. पर आपने नोटिस करा होगा टोल कभी खत्म ही नहीं होता वहां से. That's why often villager protest कि भाई you have recovered the money and they break the toll gates. खासकर हरियाणा वगैरह में बहुत होता है ये. They literally breaks the toll gates because they are right. क्या you withdraw, you took the money ना, अब क्यों टोल लगा के बैठे हो? This is taught. Government said government will sell all working infrastructure जो चल रहे हैं. Government will sell them and get lump sum money. मान लेते हैं I have an expressway. There was a toll which collected its purpose. Now the toll is gone. What I will do, I will resell that expressway to some other person. That person will establish the toll, recover money from you, and give me a lump sum money. Me means the government. I will use that money to make another expressway. हाँ, आपको तो देना पड़ेगा, तभी तो इनडायरेक्ट टैक्स हुआ. आपको देना पड़ेगा. ये सरकार, मैंने आपको फिर बताता हूँ, मैंने आपको पहले ही बोला था ये. हाँ तो करते रहो प्रोटेस्ट. दैट्स So the logic here is because there's a limit to direct taxation. Indirect taxation you won't feel a fun. So what I will do, I will sell it again. So that is toll. Again, that toll will be imposed, operated, again recovery of money, then transfer. Then again taught. Again taught. Government का logic sound भी है, पर कुछ हद तक खराब भी है. Sound कैसे है? I need money for development. So what I will do, I will sell working infrastructure. जैसे एयरपोर्ट, आपको पता ही होगा एयरपोर्ट्स आर बीइंग सोल्ड, पोर्ट्स आर बीइंग सोल्ड, वो इस मॉडल के तहत है. एयरपोर्ट सरकार का ही रहेगा, लेकिन चलाएगा कौन? प्राइवेट कंपनी चलाएगी कोई ना कोई. ठीक है. सो रहेगा सरकार का ही, लेकिन दे विल बी अ प्राइवेट कंपनी रनिंग द पोर्ट, airport, expressways. They will recover the money from you from user charges, other kind of fees, and they will give a lump sum money to government so that government can build another airport, another highway, another expressway. That's the sound logic. अब ठीक है, हर बार इस्तेमाल मनी ठीक पर्पस से नहीं होता, but that is double taxation. This is double taxation we all have to bear. That is the reason that average savings in India have been reduced. क्यों? एक तो there is too much costly affairs. Inflation has gone at least 4 to 6 times higher. Whatever you were buying in 2010 is at least 6 to 7 times higher today. So that is eating your salary. Plus, you are paying so many indirect taxes. Plus, you are paying highways money, railways money. Whenever you travel, you pay a service charge to the party also. So there are numerous taxes that a person have to bear. That's why average savings are reducing. Add to that unemployment. एक तो your savings are reducing, whatever your generations have saved. Add to that, unemployment has increased. That is the reason, if you look at the NCRB report, National Crime Record Bureau, उनके मुताबिक every day around 10 to 11 farmers and students, particularly unemployed people, student कहना ठीक होगा नहीं होगा, 40 की एज में student नहीं है, ठीक है, these people are committing suicide. Suicide rates among the unemployed, particularly the students and farmers में तो हमेशा ही रहा है, students में बढ़ गया है. क्यों बढ़ गया है? बिकॉज यू ट्राई फॉर अ जॉब फॉर अ ईयर. आप सोचिए फॉर 6 years यू हैव ट्राइड फॉर अ जॉब. You have too many pressures. The social pressure, most important, family pressure, who thinks you are unproductive. क्योंकि उनका टाइम अलग था, तो उनको लगता है आप बहाने मार रहे हो. दे विल बी से इसका नहीं निकला. When you will say that jobs have reduced, उन्हें समझ में नहीं आती ये बात. उन्हें बस सिंपल समझ में आता है कि आपको जॉब नहीं लगी. वो कहते हैं उसका भी तो निकला, देखो शर्मा के लौंडे का निकल गया, आपका नहीं निकला. तो दे स्टार्ट ब्लेमिंग यू. They don't understand situation have reversed. पहले the government job were vast, competition was very narrow. 60,000 application in civil services exam. Prelims नहीं होता था. Engineering services exam में prelims I think 16 या 17 में आया है. There was only mains and interview. Why? Because application ही इतना कम हुआ करता था. You were getting so many jobs. अब engineering services में क्या है? Engineers had a lot of PSUs. पब्लिक सेक्टर अंडरटेकिंग थी, रेलवेज हो गया आपका, बीएसएनएल, एमटीएनएल, बहुत सारी थी. यू कैन गो देयर, यू डू नॉट हैव टू प्रिपेयर फॉर सिविल सर्विसेज. अब क्या हो रहा है? यू डू नॉट हैव जॉब इन योर सेक्टर. यू आर एन इंजीनियर, नॉट हैव अ जॉब. डॉक्टर्स को तो चलो मिल जाता है, ठीक है. योर अदर पीपल यू डोंट हैव अ जॉब. तो अल्टीमेटली व्हाट यू डू, स्टार्ट प्रिपेयरिंग फॉर सिविल सर्विस. तो दिस इज द बिगेस्ट प्रॉब्लम वी आर विटनेसिंग. सो एडवांटेज, हाई ग्रोथ, rapid development. Disadvantage, high unemployment. That's why we call this jobless growth. Plus, there is declining socioeconomic indicators, except the one indicator, ease of doing business, that has increased. So that is the problem of growth versus development. Development is not happening. What is happening is growth. And there is no one to blame except a philosophical model. So what we have to do, we have to temper it. Temper it with what? Developmental state. Wherever private can work, they will work. Wherever government is required, government will work. A balance will be achieved rather than. अब देखिए सोशलिज्म में क्या था, बिफोर इंदिरा गांधी टाइम में एवरीथिंग वाज गवर्नमेंट. वो भी गलत है. गवर्नमेंट शुड नॉट डू एवरीथिंग. इट इज नॉट कॉम्पिटेंट एवरीवेयर. पर सब कुछ प्राइवेट करेगा, ये भी गलत है. सो दीज आर टू एक्सट्रीम. वी नीड समथिंग इन बिटवीन. Wherever private can function well, private shall function, and wherever government is required, government will function. That is what we call developmental state. यहां तक क्लियर हुआ? दिखता नहीं है. हाँ. हम्म. हाँ तो आप तो देंगे ही देंगे, तभी तो प्रोटेस्ट हो जाते हैं ये लोगों को. वो कहते हैं कि आप टोल क्यों ले रहे हो जब आप पैसे निकाल चुके हो. उन्हें समझ नहीं आता ओनर बदल गया है. देना पड़ेगा. मैंने आपको बताया वाई यू पीपल पे टैक्सेस, बिकॉज यू हैव अग्रीड टू दिस. कब अग्री किया था? कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन में. You agree because when you made the state, you made a sovereign body. If that sovereign body need money to run, so you have already agreed to this by a constitution that you can take a part of my income so that you can run yourself. तो इसमें आपका पास ऑप्शन नहीं है कोई भी. Anyway, so this was going on till 2016. Growth was going on. Jobless growth was continuing till 2016. But 2016 में a fabulous idea came. Demonetization. Utterly stupid. It has not even a single benefit whatsoever. Not even a single. Microscope में भी नहीं मिलेगा आपको. इसमें there is not even a single benefit. But it कहाँ आया? 99.9% money came back. है? होता तो सरकार बोलती. अंडरस्टैंड, गवर्नमेंट कभी भी आप सुन लेना किसी भी स्पीच में, मोदी जी की किसी की भी में, दे नेवर मेंशन दिस. अगर इसका एक भी बेनिफिट होता, दे वुड हैव मेंशन. देखिए अंडरस्टैंड, गवर्नमेंट को पता है दैट वी कमिटेड अ ब्लंडर. इसमें कोई इशू नहीं है. देखिए ब्लंडर्स में इश्यूज नहीं है. यू आर अ लीडर. जैसे आपके डिसीजन गलत नहीं होते क्या जिंदगी में, तो उनके भी हो सकते हैं. एक्नॉलेजमेंट इज द पैरामीटर हियर. व्हेन यू टेक अ डिसीजन, आपके भी तो कितने फैसले गलत होते हैं जिंदगी में. व्हेन यू बिकम अ लीडर, यू विल टेक अ डिसीजन आल्सो, एंड ऑल डिसीजन विल नॉट गो राइट, दे विल गो रॉन्ग. So there is no problem in taking a decision and decision going bad. The problem is acknowledgement that yes, something wrong happened. That is missing, and that is the criticism. Anyway, demonetization में government demonetized entire currency. Problem कहाँ थी? Problem थी in 2016, 85% of India's economy was running on cash. So you removed money out of 85%. So it's the engine from which you remove the engine oil immediately. And of course, it will go seize. The problem that happened is 85% of economy got hurt. And whether we like it or not, Corona came as a savior for the government. आपके लिए नुकसान रहा होगा, but government का savior बन के आया वो. कैसे आया? After this economy started to decline, the growth started to decrease. Then you would have blamed the government. Then came Corona, and the government blamed Corona. Partially true. If you look at India's economic decline, it started with demonetization itself. But when Corona came, government got an excuse that economy declined because of COVID. But it did. ऐसा नहीं है नहीं हुआ था. इसे ऐसे समझिए that you had 100 rupees in your pocket. The 50 rupees was taken by demonetization. The remaining 50 was taken by COVID. Imagine if this would not have happened. You would still have 50 rupees. That is the problem that happened. So
Sir, a question. Sir, even before Modi, currency was changed in India during Congress time. But why on in demonetization the economy went down?
sorry, in what?
So before demonetization, the currency was changed in India, right?
Hmm.
In Congress time. But why only in demonetization the economy went down? I mean, people didn't suffer that much then.
Because understand this, majority of Indian businesses, I told you, survives on what? Small margin. 90% of India's economy क्या है? Informal. मैंने आपको types of employment समझाया था, formal, informal. 90% of India's economy is informal, and majority of them are MSME, micro, small and medium enterprises. These run on a thin margin. इन पे इतना time नहीं होता. Majority of the businesses, if they don't earn for 2 months, they will go bankrupt. They all run on a very thin margin. अब क्या हुआ? Demonetization से you remove the money and it took time to get it back. Workers were not working because you were saying let me do electronic transfer. They were saying नहीं, cash चाहिए. उनको तो cash समझ में आता है ना. They don't understand electronic transfers. So for few months, the most of the India's 85% based economy, 90% of India's MSME got hurt. And plus to this, you introduce a GST, goods and services tax, indirect taxation. Idea बहुत अच्छा था, no doubt. It's a very good idea. Implementation was very disastrous. You implemented GST in an immediate forum. एक दिन से सबके लिए. What should have happened is piecemeal. Over 3 to 5 years, or maybe 5 to 6 years, you would have implemented GST in a piecemeal manner. First covering the most important or bigger organization who can comply. अब जैसे imagine करिए, GST आया, you are a small business, another is a bigger business. Bigger business क्या करेगा? They will hire few more people. They will hire new chartered accountant, comply with GST. Small businesses के problem हो गया. They took it very hard. It took demonetization plus GST forcing them to comply with a new mechanism, and that too immediately. For a small business to hire a new chartered accountant is difficult, and that too समय में जब GST आया था, not all chartered accountant understood this system. भाई धीरे धीरे expertise बनता है ना, तुरंत थोड़ी ना बनता है. तो demonetization combined with GST hurt India's economy a lot. और उसके ऊपर से एक और चीज आ गई, कोविड. जो बची कुछ इकोनॉमी थी, कोविड टुक इट डाउन. कोविड में देयर वाज इम्पोज्ड लॉकडाउन. आई थिंक 6 or 7 to 8 months चला था वो. दैट वाज अ वेरी बिग लॉकडाउन. अब इमेजिन यू आर अ स्मॉल बिजनेस ओनर, you have a factory, even if it is not producing anything because of lockdown, no worker can come there. But you still have to pay rent of the land, you still have to pay the rent of the machines. Even if you own them, you have to pay electricity bill, water bill. Understand, commercial units का compulsory bill होता है. Even if you're not using any electricity, you have to pay a minimum amount as a compulsory electricity bill. A lot of states have that. So you are paying electricity bill, you are paying rent of the houses, you are paying a lot of people who are, because the majority of the business runs on rent. They have rented shops, they have rented factories, and they run on a margin that I will generate this profit, itna मैं rent de dunga, itna will be my income. But during the lockdown period, there was no income, but there were expenditures to sustain. A majority of the business filed for insolvency. They became bankrupt. सबसे बड़ी प्रॉब्लम था, देखिए अंडरस्टैंड द बिगेस्ट प्रॉब्लम वाज एक के बाद एग्जाम आई. ऐसा नहीं था कि एक आया, you had a time to adjust, एक आया फिर adjust. Immediately came, everything came. Demonetization, GST, then immediately by 2019 Corona came. जब तक इससे उभरे तब तक कोरोना आ गया. And after that, जब तक कोरोना से उभरे यूक्रेन वॉर आ गया. Ukraine war disturbed entire supply chain in the world, and particularly what it disturbed, oil. In India को मैंने आपको बताया था, India's 85% energy are imported, and we got hurt. Petrol, हाँ मिला था, वही क्वेश्चन गया था, ये चीप ऑयल गया कहाँ, हमें नहीं पता कहाँ गया. हाँ मैं नहीं बजाया था. That's not the point. The point here is, सबको समझ में आया what happened? So the economy was running more or less smooth, but things happened since. पहला आता है 2008. 2008 crisis came. I have explained that you in detail. I hope everyone remembers the subprime loan crisis of America. But it did not hurt India. Why it did not hurt India? And इसको पता नहीं था, किसी ने फील नहीं किया. एक चीज आप अभी समझ लीजिए, अमेरिका sneezes, the world catches cold. ये हमेशा याद रखिएगा. Anything happens in American domestic affairs, चाहे चाहे repo rate वगैरह होते हैं, चाहे सेंट्रल बैंक रेजेस रेट, ड्रॉप्स रेट, entire world get affected. चाहे पसंद हो ना, अमेरिका is so integrated in the world economy. Anyway, so 2008 में a crisis ensued in America. आप देखिए 2008 से पहले India was double digit growth. India had a double digit growth, fastest ever. Nonetheless, 2008 में crisis came. अब imagine yourself as a business corporate. From what are the sources of your income? Of course, number one, export. You are exporting things to the world, and of course, you are earning some money. Second, your domestic consumption. Any corporate, anything survives on two things. First, they export the foreign market consumption and domestic consumption. As soon as 2008 crisis hit, export गए. Because remember, paradox of thrift मैंने आपको समझाया था. Whenever there is economic crisis, you start saving rather than spending. And this entire world got hurt. Primarily the developed world got hurt, and the largest consumer of Indian services is the developed world. India goods में तो बहुत बड़ी power है नहीं, India services में power है, and majority of the services are consumed in Western world. So our export declined, plus this was running smooth. The 2008 crisis, none of you felt, not even your parents felt it, because we had banks. The Indian banks are controlled by government of India. They are sarkari bank. So the banks of India, and as I told you, government can always run in losses. Government can always run in losses. So when this crisis came to the world, the banks of India adopted a policy, something we call giving time. The banks around the world, they were asking the corporates, give my money back. हमारी banks ने क्या बोला? Keep the money for now. Why? Because ये बड़ा कमाल का चल रहा था. Indian banks knew one thing. I agree, 2008 crisis came, your exports have hurt, your incomes from the world has hurt. But India, remember this, India has always been an internal consumption engine. India हमेशा से क्या रहा है? Internal consumption engine रहा है, because we have a large population. And that large population has large consumption needs. China has always been an export-driven economy. Largely, it has been an export-driven economy. India has always been a internal consumption engine. So whenever exports declined, nonetheless, our consumption was going smooth. And the banks knew this. So banks said to them, have some time. You have to pay me tomorrow, pay me 1 year later. Because they thought by that time the shock will be absorbed and you will come back. That was their understanding. Good idea. But इसको किसने हर्ट कर दिया? That's why Indian economy declined. 2008 crisis took away the external market. Demonetization clubbed with COVID, clubbed with Ukraine war तो बाहर का है. COVID and demonetization took away the domestic demand as well. The paradox of thrift came into play because the people of India were like, that demonetization हुआ, jobs नहीं थी, plus jobless growth तो है ही है, demonetization plus COVID. Now you are saving money. Why? Because you thought I may need this money for somebody's health. कोई घर में बीमार पड़ गया, पैसा चाहिए मेरे को. And there is no guarantee job will continue forever because company, particularly who was it? The transportation and hotel industry. It was badly hit. And a very good example is there was a popular news of that time. There was a manager in some of the private industry. He was in a hotel manager or something. He was earning around 70,000 at that point of time, 2018-19. He lost job during COVID. Lockdown was there, and the biggest industry that was hit, restaurants, tourism, travel, there was hit. So he lost the job. He started working as a Zomato delivery boy to survive, to sustain his family. He lost his mother and father in COVID, and then he suffered an accident while delivering something. He died in an accident and left out with only two people, the wife and a minor kid. So that news was prominently covered by newspaper. Media ने खास cover नहीं किया था. Newspaper covered it. It's a sad tragedy. सबको समझ why it happened. Now compare two responses. Western countries में government gave bailout packages to people. COVID में governments gave money directly into the accounts of the people. India में ऐसा नहीं हो पाया. Sorry, क्या हो गया श्रीलंका? हाँ, ऑफ कोर्स टूरिज्म उस समय सबसे ज्यादा इम्पैक्ट उनकी इकोनॉमी पे पड़ा, मालदीव टाइप की इकोनॉमीज पे, हु आर सर्वाइविंग ऑन टूरिज्म. पर हमें उनसे कोई मतलब नहीं, हमें अपने आप से मतलब है. द ओनली थिंग वी केयर अबाउट इज इंडियंस. इन दैट सिनेरियो वी वर हर्ट वेरी बैडली. एक तो जॉब वैसे ही कम, उसके ऊपर गवर्नमेंट सेक्टर वाज वेरी नैरो. अब आप गवर्नमेंट सेक्टर को बढ़ाएंगे तो एक दिन में तो बढ़ नहीं सकता. ऐसा तो है नहीं कि कोविड केम इमीडिएटली यू विल से सबको सरकारी जॉब दे दूंगा मैं. That's not how it works. For that you have to make PSUs. That will give the job. It takes time. Years लगते हैं इसका करने में. So that was the problem, that we could not face 2008 crisis because government was present. Government said to the bank, give time to the corporate to pay back the money. Do not force them right now. I know you will run in losses. Run it. I will manage. जब उनके पास पैसा आएगा वो लौटा देंगे. पर यहाँ पे क्या हुआ? The government was nearly absent. गवर्नमेंट कुड नॉट गिव यू जॉब. जॉब देने के लिए कुछ होना भी तो चाहिए मेरे पास. एंड अब उसके बाद से दिस हैपेंड. सो गवर्नमेंट ब्रॉट अ न्यू आइडिया. द आइडिया वाज इन बजट 2020. ये तीनों चीजें समझ में आई. 2008 took away the export demand. The internal consumption was going on, took away by COVID and demonetization. So the corporate lost everything. And समझिए ये अभी भी रिकवर नहीं हुआ है. Then how come India has become the fastest growing economy? Let's understand. अमेरिका आज भी रिकवर नहीं हुआ इससे. इट वाज सच अ बिग क्राइसिस. पूरा फाइनेंशियल सिस्टम हर्ट हो गया था उससे. अमेरिका इज स्टिल नॉट हैव रिकवर्ड. पूरा वर्ल्ड अभी भी 2008 से रिकवर नहीं हो पाया था. उसके पहले ही कोविड आ गया. सो यहां तक कहानी क्लियर है सबको. डिमोनेटाइजेशन, कोविड एंड यूक्रेन वॉर. सो गवर्नमेंट ऑफ इंडिया ब्रॉट अ पॉलिसी इन बजट 2020. व्हाट वाज द लॉजिक? गवर्नमेंट ऑफ इंडिया रिड्यूस कॉर्पोरेट टैक्स. व्हाई? Because banks now got anxious or anxiety grew in them. पहले तो उन्होंने 2008 में क्या बोला? Have time. अब थोड़ा डरने लगे वो. यार 2008 से 2020 आ गया. And they got a big concern कि यार ये NPA, non performing asset, means the loan which are not coming back. Simply इतना समझिए. The loans were not coming back and now the government developed anxieties. Sorry, banks developed anxiety कि कितना लंबा चलेगा ये process. And in that scenario, government thought banks are demanding money from corporate. Corporate does not have neither internal nor external income. How they will pay back? So government thought, why shouldn't I give them rebate in taxes? If I give you rebate in taxes, you will pay back the loans and you have more money to invest. That was the scenario. पर ऐसा हुआ नहीं. Government reduced corporate tax to, I think, 25 for old firms and says 16 or 15 for new firms. If you open a new company, you have to pay 16 something % corporate taxes. If you have an old company, you have to pay around 25. It was less. Earlier, it was, I think, 30 plus something. 30 से ऊपर था, कम कर दिया. According to RBI report of 2020, RBI's annual report, Government of India lost how much? 1 lakh crore rupees. 1 lakh crore rupees was the money that government could have got in taxes that year. It lost that money. लॉजिक साउंड था. लॉजिक क्या था? that I will leave this money. This money will be with corporate. Corporate will pay old loans and start investing. So what will come back? Investment. With investment comes manufacturing and everything will come. Companies will start running. They will give you job and everything will boom. पर एक problem थी. But it was trying to push. It was trying to push supply. और मैंने आपको क्या बताया था? Would you manufacture? मान लेते you are a shoemaker. I come to you and say take 20 crore rupees for 200 years. 200 साल बाद देना मुझे. Would you like such money? No. Because you will spend that money in regular expenditure. क्योंकि कोई आपके जूते तो खरीद ही नहीं रहा है. If imagine there is a strong demand for your shoes. You don't have the money to start a new factory. You have 2 factories, but demand is of 6 factories. So what you will do? You will mortgage everything you have. You will give that to bank as a guarantee to take a loan, even your kidney if required. क्यों? क्योंकि आपको पता I will pay back. The demand is so strong for my shoes. If I establish 4 new factories by taking loan from the bank, it all will be covered by the demand. I will pay back from the profit. So always remember, whenever there is no demand, there will be no supply. Because private never invest if you do not have a demand. Or because of COVID and demonetization, क्या हो गया था? Demand was dead. So according to RBI, government lost 1 lakh crore rupees. We lost twice. Corporate did not invest. Government could not invest. Because if government would have taken this money, तो government spend कर लेती. Remember, hand of the state. Whenever invisible hand fails, who comes? Hand of the state. So private did not invest because there was no demand. Government could not invest because there was lack of money. Clear this much? Government changed this policy. In 2020 budget, government ने से बदल दिया. Government was like, ये तो काम नहीं कर रहा. Government started something known as production linked incentives, PLI. Previously, government said in 2020, take this as incentives and start production. ऐसा नहीं हुआ. तो government ने condition लगा दी. First you produce, then incentives. फर्क समझ में आया? In 2020, you are giving incentives, then asking for production. In 2021, you said first you produce, then I will give you incentives. This is called production linked incentives. If you will do production, government will give you rebate in taxes and other things, but only if you do production. If you don't do production, government will not give you any incentives. This much is clear. ये भी fail हो गया. This also did not work. Why it did not work? Same reason. Demand ही नहीं है. If there is no demand, why would I produce anything? So ultimately, government changes policy in 2023 budget, previous year budget, and they started something called direct intervention. ये अभी भी चल रहा है. It is still going on. If you are producing, government will give you incentives, but government started direct intervention. What is a direct intervention? 2020 budget में government of India dedicated 10 lakh crore rupees to capex. Capex means capital expenditure. Government said, fine, you will not produce, then I will produce. That is called capital expenditure. The highest part of government of India's budget in previous year and this year's interim budget. इसे बढ़ा दिया गया है. अब ये कितना हो गया? 11 lakh crore हो गया. It is around 3.5% of India's GDP. It is the maximum expenditure. तो गवर्नमेंट डिसाइडेड कैपेक्स, लेकिन सेलेक्टिव कैपेक्स कहां करेगी? हाईवेज, इन हाईवेज, एक्सप्रेसवेज, बिल्डिंग्स. गवर्नमेंट विल इन्वेस्ट ऑन इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर. द हाईएस्ट एवर इंक्रीज इज ऑन इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर. up to build a highway, expressway, building, I need workers, and that's how government is giving employment. अब हमें ये कैसे पता? Because government is now claiming we are growing at, I think 6.8 something बोल रहे हैं. इस साल जो बोला गया है 6.8 something है. It is highest in the entire world. Major economies में, छोटी की बात नहीं कर रहा मैं. In major economies, India is the fastest growing economy. But पैसे तो है सरकार के पास, पैसे क्यों नहीं है? बजट को अल्टर कर दिया ना. मेरे पे 100 रुपए थे, पहले मैं इधर उधर खर्च कर रहा था, मैंने कम कर दिया. बाकी जगह पे कम करा, हेल्थ एजुकेशन वगैरह पे कम कर दिया सरकार ने पैसा, यहाँ पे बढ़ाया. सो दिस इज व्हाट हैपेंड. अब 6.8, इंडिया इज नाउ द फास्टेस्ट ग्रोइंग इकोनॉमी. पर अभी भी एक ट्रबल बचा. कैसे? प्रीवियस स्टडी आई वाज रीडिंग एन आर्टिकल, देयर इज अ प्रॉब्लम. ग्रोथ तो आ गई, लेकिन एनएसओ सर्वे, नेशनल स्टैटिस्टिकल ऑर्गेनाइजेशन, गवर्नमेंट की खुद की बॉडी है, इट कैरी आउट हाउस होल्ड एक्सपेंडिचर सर्वे नोन एज फाइनल प्राइवेट कंजम्पशन एक्सपेंडिचर सर्वे. इसमें एनएसओ ये देखता है व्हाट द इंडियंस आर स्पेंडिंग ऑन एंड हाउ मच. अकॉर्डिंग टू दैट इंडिया में एक्सपेंडिचर अभी भी कितना है? लगभग इससे भी कम है. दिस इज अ मिसमैच. यू आर ग्रोइंग एट 6.8, the highest growth, and you are saying we have succeed in dealing with corona. The entire world is not growing as much as us, but expenditure फिर भी नहीं है. ये डिफरेंस कैसे एक्सप्लेन होता है? गवर्नमेंट की वजह से. India is growing not on the strength of economic fundamentals. India is growing on the strength of government of India's capex. बात समझ. ग्रोथ का मतलब है कि जीडीपी क्या होता है? जीडीपी मींस the total value of all the goods and services produced in a country in a financial year. अब चाहे वो आप प्रोड्यूस करो, मैं करूं या सरकार करे. So this is what has happened. Private investment has not increased. Private led development has not increased. Overall development has not increased. क्या बढ़ा है? Government expenditure has increased. So you are having a high growth in the entire world, particularly among the major economies. It is not because your economy has rebounded. It is not because people are demanding more commodities. ये सबसे important है, demand. If people are not spending, इसका मतलब people don't have money. और आपको जानना है तो you can go to any of your friend who is a businessman. कोई भी आपका दोस्त बिजनेसमैन हो, उससे पूछ लेना. वो आपको, जैसे one of few of my friends are businessmen, they have a good shops, मधु विहार वगैरह में महंगी शॉप्स है. एंड दे हैव टोल्ड मी, भाई डिमांड ही नहीं है मार्केट में. टेक्सटाइल वगैरह में इंडिया में सबसे ज्यादा टेक्सटाइल कंज्यूम होता है, क्लोथिंग. एंड इफ यू किसी भी शॉप पे चले जाना कोलबाग वगैरह में, एंड आस्क, ऐसी मजाक में पूछ लेना, भाई कैसा चल रहा है बिजनेस, वो आपको बता देंगे कैसा चल रहा है बिजनेस. डिमांड ही नहीं है मार्केट में. तो व्हाट इज हैपनिंग इज, डिमांड है नहीं. क्यों नहीं है? पैसा ही नहीं है तो डिमांड कहां से लाएंगे? People of India do not have money in their pocket, and whatever money they have, they don't want to spend. Why? Because they want to save it for emergencies. जॉब नहीं है, जॉब सिनेरियो बहुत खराब चल रहा है इंडिया में. सो देखिए, मेरी जैसी जॉब में फर्क नहीं पड़ता, बिकॉज वी आर इन सर्विसेज. सर्विसेज में प्रॉब्लम नहीं आती. मैंने आपको पहले भी समझाया था, सर्विसेज की हम बात ही नहीं कर रहे हैं. वी आर टॉकिंग अबाउट द प्राइमरी एंड द सेकेंडरी. सेकेंडरी में प्राइमरली वी आर टॉकिंग अबाउट मैन्युफैक्चरिंग. सो इंडिया इज राइट नाउ sustaining itself or having the highest growth only because of government capex. जीडीपी में है, पर सर्विसेज में जॉब छोटी सी होती है ना, उसकी हम बात ही नहीं कर रहे हैं. पर उनकी वो नहीं बढ़ी ना. नहीं, आप समझे नहीं. इस स्क्यूड ओनली दिस इज हैपनिंग. जैसे अगर आप करंट अफेयर्स में हमने करा होगा, एम्प्लॉयमेंट सिनेरियो राइट नाउ, जॉब्स इन कंस्ट्रक्शन इज द लार्जेस्ट एम्प्लॉयर इन सेकेंडरी सेक्टर. मैन्युफैक्चरिंग बहुत पीछे है. कंस्ट्रक्शन में प्रॉब्लम ये नहीं है कि जॉब मिल रहा है, प्रॉब्लम ये सस्टेनेबल नहीं होता ना. कंस्ट्रक्शन हाईवे एक बार बनेगा ना, जिंदगी भर थोड़ा ना बनेगा. वी वांट सस्टेनेबल जॉब्स. एंड इफ यू नो दैट यू मे बी एम्प्लॉयड टुडे नॉट टुमारो, यू विल नेवर स्पेंड. यही तो मैं समझाना चाह रहा हूँ. एम्प्लॉयमेंट है, लेकिन टेम्पररी कंस्ट्रक्शन एम्प्लॉयमेंट से. हमें कैसी चाहिए? सस्टेनेबल एम्प्लॉयमेंट चाहिए. अगर आप मैन्युफैक्चरिंग, मान लेते यू आर अ वर्कर, बट इफ यू आर एम्प्लॉयड इन अ फैक्ट्री, आपको पता है फैक्ट्री हमेशा चलने वाली है. ये तो आप हाईवे बना रहे हो, आज बना रहे हो, कल नहीं बनाओगे. This is the problem India is witnessing, and this is the difference between expenditure and growth. So the final solution is, the final answer is, yes, India is growing at a fastest economy. It's a good news, no doubt over this. The problem here is, it is on the strength of government expenditure. It is not on the strength of private expenditure. और ज्यादा क्या होना चाहिए? We have to increase private expenditure. Final private consumption expenditure should be more. तो इसे डील कैसे करें? इसके दो तीन, there's some suggestion by Manmohan Singh as well as and Arvind Subramaniam, the former chief economic advisor to the Modi government. He has also suggested government led support programs. First, if you really want to deal with the problem here, is first thing is you have to focus on employment. But employment कैसी? Sustainable. I'm not saying formal. फॉर्मल की यहां कोई बात नहीं कर रहा. आई एम सेइंग सस्टेनेबल. उसमें इतनी गारंटी तो हो दैट इट विल कंटिन्यू फॉर एटलीस्ट 5 to 10 years. 5 तो चली जाए कम से कम. ऐसा नहीं है कि यू आर कंस्ट्रक्टिंग एन हाईवे जो आज बन रहा है कल आपका पता नहीं. यू नीड अ जॉब जो कम से कम 4-5 साल कॉन्टिन्यूटी में रहे. But that is the problem we are witnessing. We are not having that as of now. And that's why people are not spending. Add to that, inflation is very high. एक तो आप पे इनकम खास है नहीं. Plus, what is happening? You have too much inflation. Things have gone too costly. The amount of expenditure by average household on basic survival, food, water, वगैरह पे has increased a lot. So your expenditure has increased on basic survival. You are not having a sustainable job, and plus you are having to witness a slump in construction. Sorry, slump in manufacturing. Construction ऐसा चल रहा है. So clear है सबको? सरकार के कंट्रोल में नहीं है इन्फ्लेशन. आप समझ नहीं रहे इन्फ्लेशन क्यों बढ़ रहा है इंडिया में. 2-3 रीजन है. यूक्रेन वॉर डिस्टर्ब द एंटायर सप्लाई चेन, जिसके कारण पेट्रोल प्राइसेस पे इंपैक्ट पड़ता है. पेट्रोल डीजल बहुत महंगा है ना भाई. इंडिया में ऑल द कमोडिटीज आर ट्रांसपोर्टेड थ्रू रोडवेज एंड दे रन ऑन व्हाट, डीजल, पेट्रोल एंड सीएनजी. और तीनों के प्राइसेस ज्यादा है. एंड आई हैव टोल्ड यू, 1 rupee इंक्रीज इन द ऑयल प्राइसेस, एटलीस्ट 10 to 20 rupees इंक्रीज इन कमोडिटी प्राइसेस. तो अगर हमें इसे करना है, वी हैव टू कंट्रोल व्हाट, ऑयल प्राइसेस. जो हम कर सकते हैं बॉन्ड के थ्रू, वो मैं आपको बॉन्ड वाली मार्केट में समझाऊंगा कैसे होता है वो. नहीं समझाना. हाँ क्या, सॉरी. हाँ, कैपिटल एक्सपेंडिचर की वजह से भी. एनीवे, तो बट फाइनल सोल्यूशन याद रखिएगा. द प्रॉब्लम वी आर विटनेसिंग इज that there are two reports. One report of government saying India is growing at a very fast pace, no doubt a good news. Problem है यहाँ पे, expenditure is not growing, particularly private final consumption expenditure is not growing. And when you see that some people are demanding, जैसे आपका this strong demand, कहाँ है strong demand? Luxury items में, cars, luxury houses, they have a very strong demand. And why there is a strong demand there? Because you have money. Rich people I'm talking about, 1% or 10% of Indian society, you have money which you cannot invest in manufacturing or other sector because demand है नहीं. तो कहाँ invest करोगे? Housing. You will buy new cars. कोई पैसा पड़ा हुआ है, खर्च करना नहीं, तो चलो एक गाड़ी खरीद लेते हैं बढ़िया सी. This is why you are seeing that there is a very strong demand for luxury car segment. जैसे थार वगैरह की साल साल भर की वेटिंग है. Why it is having so long waiting? Because people have money as a saving. I'm talking about rich people. Those people do not have any avenues of investment. तो वो कहाँ invest कर रहे हैं? In their facilities. इसलिए the housing, premium housing demand in India is right now very high. Premium cars, particularly cars above 10 lakh rupees, जैसे थार वगैरह, ब्रेजा वगैरह, एसयूवी सेगमेंट. इंडिया में सबसे ज्यादा डिमांड कार में किस में है? एसयूवी सेगमेंट्स में. दे हैव ईयर लॉन्ग वेटिंग. सो कंफ्यूज मत होना कि जस्ट बिकॉज एसयूवी की डिमांड ज्यादा है तो इंडिया ग्रो कर रहा है. नहीं, दो अलग डिमांड है. दैट इज अ डिमांड ऑफ द रिच पीपल or maybe upper middle class. We are talking about the demand of the lower segment. That is not, on an average demand is very low. तो अगर if we really want to say what we have to increase, इंडियन इकोनॉमी को वापस लाने के लिए क्या वापस लाना पड़ेगा? डिमांड. कैसी? प्राइवेट फाइनल कंजम्पशन एक्सपेंडिचर. That is the only sustainable model because India is a internal consumption driven engine. Clear this much to everything? ऑनलाइन पीपल क्लियर है? एनी क्वेश्चन? अश्नीत जी, आपका कोई क्वेश्चन है?
No, sir, all clear.
चलो फिर लिखो जल्दी से सब लोग. तो वी हैव पुट अ हेडिंग. क्या हेडिंग थी? ठीक है, विद इन साइड डाउन. दिस मॉडल हैज सम एडवांटेज. दिस मॉडल हैज some advantages and disadvantages. Subheading: advantages. Advantages. Point number one. India has witnessed rapid growth. India has witnessed rapid growth. Full stop. Second point. India has become an attractive destination. क्या कोड वर्ड है क्या कोई? चलिए ठीक है. India has become an attractive destination for foreign capital. An attractive destination for foreign capital. Full stop. Third point. Indian capitalists has acquired. Indian capitalists have acquired the status of global reputation. Have acquired the status of global reputation. Fourth point. India has never witnessed. India has never witnessed balance of payment crisis again. India has never witnessed balance of payment crisis again. Full stop. Subheading. Issues. Subheading. Issues/problems. Issues/problems. Within the side down. India has been witnessing. India has been witnessing jobless growth. India has been witnessing jobless growth. Second point, there is an excessive increase. An excessive increase in inequalities. Is an excessive increase in inequalities. ठीक है, full stop. ठीक है, now write down. अब सब हेडिंग एक हेडिंग डालिए. रोल ऑफ 2008 क्राइसिस. एक हेडिंग डालिए, रोल ऑफ 2008 crisis. Within the side down. The 2008 crisis hurt. The 2008 crisis hurt the economic growth. Hurt the economic growth around the world. Economic growth around the world. Full stop. In India's context, it did not have. In India's context, it did not have very significant effects. It did not have very significant effects because the Indian banks adopted the policy of inverted commas में write down giving time. Policy of giving time. Subheading डालिए rationale. Put on a subheading rationale. Within this point number 1, Indian corporates, rationale point number 1 लिखिए, Indian corporates survives on two sources of incomes. Two sources of incomes apart from loans, investments, loans, investments, and share and bond market. And share and bond market. Bond market. Number one, internal consumption. Internal consumption. Number two, exports. Number two, exports. Now in a para form, write down the 2008 crisis. The 2008 crisis hurt the export sector. Hurt the export sector because of the paradox of thrift. Because of the paradox of thrift, particularly in developed world. Paradox of thrift, particularly in developed world. Full stop. However, the internal consumption was running smooth. The internal consumption was running smooth. Full stop. अब next heading डालिए, role of demonetization and COVID. Put on the next heading, role of demonetization and COVID. Role of demonetization and COVID. Within the side down, the demonetization removed the money from 85% of India's economy. 85% of India's economy. Full stop. The MSME. The MSME that largely survives on narrow margin. MSME that largely survives on narrow margin was seriously hurt. Was seriously hurt. Full stop. Next para. Moreover, the government imposed GST. Moreover, the government imposed GST in a strict manner. In a strict manner for all businesses to comply. For all businesses to comply, leaving micro businesses. Leaving micro businesses. full stop. Nonetheless, it created the burden of compliance. Created the burden of compliance. Take a full stop. Third point, write down. Yeah, third para. The COVID led lockdown. The COVID led lockdown imposed serious restrictions. Imposed serious restrictions on the business environment in India. Business environment in India. Environment. Business environment in India. Full stop. A large number of businesses could not handle the combined effect of demonetization, GST and COVID. Combined effect of demonetization, GST and COVID, and ultimately went bankrupt. Full stop. ठीक है, डन एवरीवन? ठीक है, अब लिखिए इंडियन इकोनॉमी सिंस कोविड. Now write down Indian economy since COVID. Indian economy since COVID. But then start writing in budget 2020. In budget 2020, the government reduced corporate taxes. Government reduced corporate taxes, believing that the extra money at the hand of the corporate will boost investment. And consequently jobs and income. Full stop. Next para. According to RBI, annual report 2020. According to RBI annual report 2020-21, 2020-21, comma, the government lost 1 lakh crore rupees. Government lost 1 lakh crore rupees in taxation. 1 lakh crore rupees in taxation. Full stop. According to India Today report. According to India Today. ये मैगजीन आती है इसकी. according to India Today report, the corporate India did not invest the money. Corporate India did not invest the money, full stop. On the contrary, comma, it paid, on the contrary, it paid the old loans and created bank balance and created bank balance rather than investing in the economy, rather than investing in the economy. Now next subheading, budget 2021. Budget 2021, within side down. The government changed its approach. The government changed its approach and put emphasis on change its approach and put emphasis on the production linked incentives. Emphasis on the production linked incentives, within bracket PLI, full stop. In this, PLI, production linked incentives, full stop. In this, the government will provide incentives. The government will provide incentives to the corporates that will carry out production. To the corporates that will carry out production. Full stop. Next para. However, it also did not lead. However, it also did not lead to any significant increase. Did not lead to any significant increase in production activities. Production activities. Full stop. Next, write down subheading डालिए budget 2023 and interim 2024. Budget 2023 and interim budget 2024. ठीक है, चलिए यहाँ से हम कल लिखेंगे रिमेनिंग पार्ट. ठीक है, बाय बाय. देन वी विल मीट अगेन टुमारो एंड कंटिन्यू फ्रॉम बजट 2023. वेरी वेलकम अश्नीत. बाय बाय.
Right on.